Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of MineCrime. And this is a new series that we've come up with where we'll do some mining and we'll tell some crime. So, today's first story is the unsolved killing of Georgette Bauerdorf. Okay, so to begin with, Georgette Bauerdorf was a young socialite with a grand future until 1944, when her life was cut short in the dead of night. The most unsettling part of the story, Georgette's murder remains unsolved for over 70 years. Okay, so let's talk about her early life. She was born to an oil tycoon in New York City in 1924. Georgette lived a life of privilege. She and her older sister attended a convent school on Long Island, where they were trained in goodness and propriety. When the girl's mother died in 1935, the Bauerdorf siblings and their father moved to California, where Georgette was once again enrolled in a school that befit her place in society, alumni of the Westlake School for Girls in Los Angeles, included Shirley Temple and Myra Loy. Later in her life, and upon graduation in 1941, young Georgette moved to West Hollywood to pursue an acting career. By the age of 20, she found work at the Los Angeles Times in the Women's Service Bureau and at the Hollywood Canteen, a dining and dancing club that catered to young men in uniform. So, soldiers. And this is around the times of the World Wars. Georgette called El Palacia her home, a grand Spanish style home that played host to numerous celebrities. Her evenings were filled with nights out on the town. She was courted often and enjoyed the attention of her many suitors. So, now let's talk about the murder. Exactly what happened on the night of October 11th, 1944 remains a mystery. It was a Wednesday. Georgette was at the canteen where her role as a junior hostess meant she danced with and entertained the servicemen who were on layover in Los Angeles. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary that night, and at the time of her shift, she climbed into her sister's Pontiac coupe and drove home. At 11 a.m. that morning, Georgette's maid and a janitor arrived to clean her apartment. They were met with an unlocked front door. The cleaners entered and found Georgette's lifeless body face down in her bathtub, the water still running. She was wearing the top part of her pajama set. Her hair floated in the water. When police surveyed the scene, they found little evidence of a struggle, though the coroner later confirmed the bruises on Georgette's body suggested she put up a fight before her death. A partially unscrewed light bulb outside her front door led investigators to believe that her killer had hidden in the darkness, perhaps even entering the apartment before Georgette arrived, lying in wait to make a move. Police assembled a rough timeline of Georgette's final moments. They believed she came home late, ate a snack in her kitchen, and was then killed by someone who may or may not have been a stranger. A downstairs neighbor heard screaming at about 2:30 a.m. along the shouts of, "Stop! You're killing me!" The neighbor assumed it was a domestic dispute and returned to sleep. The janitor himself claimed he heard the sounds of high-heeled footsteps from Georgette's apartment and then a crash. as if something had been dropped. Yet he couldn't confirm if there had been a second person in her apartment. Whatever occurred, Georgette's last moments were certainly a desperate attempt to save her own life. So now we'll talk about the days after the murder. So in the days following the murder, police received a letter from a Sergeant Adland, to which claimed that a woman matching Georgette's description gave him a lift through Hollywood on the night of October 11th. In the letter, he described the woman as appearing quite nervous, though he would downplay this claim in later years. He mentioned that he found it odd a young woman would give a stranger a ride at midnight. So this is around 2.5 hours before her death. The killer, meanwhile, vanished into the night after the slaying, driving off in Georgette's car. The vehicle was found some distance away, abandoned and out of gas. It was the last trace of the killer in a case that quickly went cold. So now we're going to talk about the running theory. Georgette Bauerdorf's body was shipped back to New York, where it was interred in a family-owned plot in a Long Island cemetery. While much has been written about the killing, little is concretely known. Some speculators associate Georgette's death with that of Elizabeth Short, aka the Black Dahlia, claiming that the same man murdered the two Hollywood hopefuls. Implicated in this theory is a tall individual with a limp named Jack Anderson Wilson, who plays a part, although peripherally, in both stories. So, in conclusion, the murder remains a mystery to this day, given the fact that it has been 70 years of time since her death. There's little chance that Georgette's death will ever be solved. Now, on to my theory. I don't think it's unlikely for a stranger to have committed the crime. Yes, I think that the hitchhiking sergeant could have been responsible for Georgette's death. The killer drove away using her car, which means that he didn't have one for himself. Not to mention that the people close to our victim described her consistently as a woman who was relentless when it came to helping men in uniform. Between travel and personal development, Georgette always made it a responsibility to work at the Hollywood canteen to help soldiers Wednesday nights. If this was common information at the time, the killer could have deemed her an easy target. But who knows? This has been Ghoul2 Gaming with our new series, MineCrime. If you enjoyed this episode and want to contribute to more, leave a like, subscribe, or even put down a comment of other crime stories, true crime stories that we can try out. Do our research, come up with the best theories we've got. Until then, see ya!